Hi, let's write a Quine in Kotlin. If you haven't heard about Quines, Quine is a program which prints its own source code. And it does it without reading files and doing tricks like that. It's not always obvious how to write such a program, and that's why it can be fun. To begin with, it's a safe bet to just print something, because that's the whole point of Quines. And what we have here is the source code, which starts with fun main. Then we have println. Let's maybe skip the content for now and have curly brace. So we have output down here. I can copy it into the clipboard and run an action to compare clipboard with the current file in the IDE. And I'm doing it without white space and empty lines because in Kotlin we can always rewrite a program ignoring white space and replacing empty lines with semicolons. So obviously right now we are missing the content of the println. So the bit with the green background means that it's present on the right hand side, but it's missing on the left hand side. So we want our string to do what our printout to what our source code is doing, and our println is printing the string. So without overthinking it, let's just try and paste this string into the string itself. It's already obvious that there is some difference, and I'll just compare it anyway. So on the right hand side we can see that we are missing the string, and we still have empty println. If we wanted to try it again, there is a question of which string we want to paste into the empty println. So the one option is to copy string from the outer level, or the other option is to copy string from the actual code. But either way, this will include another empty println, so in this way we will never be able to fill this empty println. And in a way, what we're trying to do is to reference the string inside itself, and this approach of just pasting the string into itself leads to an infinite recursion. So I don't think that's going to work. What we can try is specify a magic set of characters, let's say like a ... which we will say will mean that's a reference to the string itself. So after the string you can say replace ... with the string, which we can extract into a variable called code. So now we have code, and because we modified source code of a program, we also need to modify the contents of the string. So here we can have maybe escaped double quotes, and then we have println, and for now let's just do code. If I compare this output to the code, we can see that like line 2 obviously is the same, but line 3 is almost the same. The only problem now is that double quotes are not escaped on the left hand side, so that's not a proper string in Kotlin. But on the positive side, it seems that this just solves the problem of infinite recursion. So we can reference string to itself by a special set of characters. The only difference now is that we need to update this println. And then it brings another interesting question in the sense that we are replacing ... in all occurrences of it in the string, but we really want just to replace the first one, right? Because the second one is not a reference to the string, and it's just this symbol itself. So let's try this. And if we compare it, so now the only difference is on the line 3, and it's all about escaping double quotes. It can be a bit confusing, and what helps me to understand this is that everything we see on the screen really comes from println, and everything we can see inside the string literal, like the code, all of that comes from this replacement of ... with the code. So the selection in the output is literally what's coming from the code. And inside there, we want to replace a double quote with an escaped double quote. That's what we want, so let's try that. This already looks promising because I can see this is Some double quotes I escaped, but I'll compare it. Now everything looks good, and we just need to update println inside the string. So I copied the line below and I'm pasting it. So you can see IntelliJ is being clever again, and it's escaping lots of things, like all these slashes. That's what IntelliJ is escaping. And without over-analyzing it, let's just again run it and compare. And it looks kind of confusing, because now what we have is that we have more slashes in the actual source code than in the output string. So on the right-hand side, in this case, we have 3 slashes. Here we have only 2. I'm sure if you're given enough time and effort, you will figure out that the problem is that we are now having escaped slashes in the string, and we don't escape them inside the code. So it's a similar problem to having double quotes, but this is all about slashes. So basically, this will solve it. Right, and again, I'll need to update println. So IntelliJ again is doing some magic, and to be fair, it's interesting that now when we diff, it actually works. And so that's a Quine, but I cannot say I'm happy with it because, well, you know, I just wrote this code literally a minute ago, and I already cannot understand what's going on, how many slashes there are, why they're there. It's very confusing. So I would prefer to actually go back to a time where everything made a bit more sense, which was this point. So now we have the only problem is escaping double quotes. So we can try and do an alternative approach. So one way would be to, let's say, use hexadecimal values. I don't remember what they are, but we can always run some kind of command. For example, echo with hexdump. So double quotes 22, so we can convert this to char. So we want to replace double quotes with slash double quote. So that's 5c to char plus 0.22 to char. So the biggest difference right now is that because we don't mention double quotes in println, when I paste it back, then double quotes are escaped, but we don't need to do all the things with slashes. And in general, at least the string, it's a bit more readable. So let's compare the output. Still, like, no differences, or rather differences are ignored. And that's also a Quine, and arguably this is way more readable. It's not the simplest program, but it's definitely better. One more thing maybe that I would try is to extract a variable called escaped code. So it's a bit more clear what's going on, and we'll have to copy this back into the string. So this will be escaped code, and this will be println. So let's run that. I'll compare the output, and differences, like, not significant. And the ultimate test is now to delete all this code, paste the output, run it again. And now if I compare output to the program, they are completely identical. And that's a Quine. To be fair, I never had to write a Quine in the real world, and it's kind of a theoretical problem. But it's still fun because it pushes your knowledge of the programming language and finding ways how you could use it. And it's also quite interesting in a philosophical way, because it's not just about self-reproducing programs, it's about self-reproducing programs in a meta way. In this case, we wrote a program in Kotlin that becomes later a bytecode, then it later on runs as a machine code, which can reproduce its source code in a higher level language. And that's kind of a loop between several representations of the same program. And I find this interesting. I hope you find this interesting too. See you sometime later. Bye.